Hey guys, welcome back to Coal Country Homestead. So it's the weekend and I'm doing some garden work. I have a tiller rented and I'm preparing the extension of the garden that we decided to do this year. So I had a bed out front that I needed to do. We have a bed over here in the secret garden that we're tilling, and then I had another long bed against the garden fence on the inside, and then another long 2-foot bed that goes inside the garden. So that's where we'll be planting our tomatoes this year. But right now we're in the secret garden and we just kind of wanted to do a quick little walkthrough. Don't mind the tall grass and everything. I have cattle panels down here that I haven't moved yet, so the grass is real tall. I can't mow over that yet, but I was going to take the weed whacker and knock those down today. But last year we planted a bunch of our berries in here. So this is a gooseberry, I believe. I don't remember which ones are which. I have them written down inside, or Sam has a diagram of the whole secret garden area, but I know that 3 of these are gooseberries, I believe. This one is a currant. I think it's a black currant. So you can see there's going to be lots of fruits on this one this year. We got like just a little bit last year, but these gooseberries, they're going to have a good amount of fruit this year. You can see all these fruits on here. It's going to be really producing really well this year. I think this is the white gooseberry. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this one is the red gooseberry. So you can see there's a bunch of fruits on this one too this year. And I think this one is a loganberry. I'm pretty sure that's the loganberry.
We have a doggy exploring the tall grass.
What are you doing there, Mookie? What are you doing? You're like a tiger in the tall grass. And then over here we have our blackberries, our red raspberries, and our fall gold berries. I believe this is the fall gold here. And then we have a columbine volunteer. I had a big columbine in a pot last year and it didn't come back, but it dropped a bunch of seeds around where it was sitting, where all the berries were. So I'm assuming that the seeds got dropped in the berry pot. And as you can see, we got a nice columbine this year. It's about to flower. This one I think is a blackberry. I'm not sure, but all these are either red raspberries or blackberries. So they're nice and bushy this year. Might get some fruit off of them. These two are the youngest ones, I think. So we might not get any fruit this year off of those, but they're growing nicely. And then this was our biggest blueberry bush that we had planted. And it's the only one that kind of made it through the winter. I don't know what was eating the branches in the wintertime, if it was deer or rabbits or something. But as you can see, this used to be, really tall. So something was nipping the branches off of them. And I think this one totally didn't make it. But as you can see, the other ones, they're very, well, that's not a blueberry. This is a blueberry.
This is a blueberry.
But as you can see, this one was another big one that produced good last year, but
that's an odd looking blueberry.
Everything else died on here.
Mookie, you're not a blueberry.
So we just have just a little bit of growth. So I'm not sure what I want to do with these, if I just want to let them be and work their way back to life over the next couple of years. So we have three raised beds in here, and I'm planning on putting 2 more, I think. But this is basically like the kitchen garden. So there's herbs and medicinal herbs and stuff, and cooking herbs and stuff in here. So in this bed, we have St. John's wort, which I started this from seed 2 years ago, and just look at it now. It's just really, really coming in.
And we didn't do anything to
Nope, I just planted these last year and let them be, and they came back. The lavender did not come back, as you can see. All the lavender died here. So
Up here we have.
and then this is yarrow that I started from seed. Or no, this one I got as a start.
It was a little itty bitty start.
Yeah, it was just a little one. This one I started from seed. This yarrow I started from seed. That's looking real nice this year. This one's looking real nice. It's gonna flower real nice.
And that back there.
And then this is elderberry tree. It's not actually planted. I just put soil around it to overwinter it. And this was looking real small last year, and it was just literally just these two brown branches here, and then all this green is just all new growth this year. So this is really taking off. There's also a strawberry in here, which belongs over there, and then this is just a weed. Oh, and then there's some chamomile in here, so that's coming back a little bit. Some over there. I'm not sure what this one is. This kind of looks like thyme. I'm not sure. And then this is my goji berry, which produced last year. As you can see, there was a bunch of dried seed fruit pods that I didn't harvest. So this started out real slow, and it took about 2 years till it started getting more bushy and alive, but I should have this planted this year somewhere. Okay, so in this bed, we had a bunch of strawberries planted. As you can see, there's some strawberries coming back in a couple places. Got a bunch of weeds in here. There's a strawberry in this weed.
Loki said, "We'll eat the strawberry." Loki.
And then over in this corner, just this area over here, we had mint planted. And as you can see, the mint has totally taken over this whole bed pretty much. And that's what mint is going to do. Mint is going to just totally take over your garden bed. That's why it's good to have it in pots or a raised bed where it's going to have a border, because it will just literally spread and take over everything. And then this bed is kind of the kitchen herb bed. So this is where we plant all of Sam's kitchen herbs that she's going to be using. So this is all oregano. This is really grown crazy. This is really nice. This is thyme here. This looks like cilantro or parsley. Might be parsley.
I'm surprised that came back.
Yeah, that was from last year, so that came back on its own. And then these chives get really, really big and bushy. So they're nice. Yep, so our chives are looking really good. There's some other stuff in here. I'm not sure if that's a weed or it might be a weed.
Oh, yeah, the sage.
And then the sage has pretty much been the same way all winter. It didn't really get cold enough to kill it. So this is still growing from last year, and that'll get bushier.
And none of our basil.
And then obviously basil doesn't survive the winter, even with a mild winter like we had. But this is where we'll plant all of our basil starts that we have downstairs.
So that's the secret garden.
We have more blueberries coming down the fence line, which same thing with these. They just kind of died back a little bit. This one actually has two big blueberry clusters, so we'll get blueberries off of that one. And then these are just coming back a little bit, so they'll take another couple years to get going again. And then this one actually has some blueberry clusters on it too, so this one's not doing too bad. And then this I just tilled yesterday, and this is going to be for cucumbers or peas or something, vining stuff that's going to climb up these trellises. And then outside the fence line, we have which is going to be one of my favorites, I know. These are honeyberries. So we have a Mr. and Mrs. honeyberry. You have to have a Mr. and Mrs. to pollinate each other. So the one is doing much better than the other one, but they both came back nicely. So I'm hopefully expecting to maybe get a couple fruits off of those this year. You want to show them the trees quick?
Sure.
So then this is our side yard / orchard that we have planted. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fruit trees that we planted. What was it, 2 years ago? 2 years ago, and only 3 of them actually survived. So we had 2 pairs planted. So this pair actually came back really nice this year. As you can see, it's nice and bushy. There are fruits on here. Sam, if you want to zoom in here, there's some pears. There's a pear there, and there's a couple more. Here's one down here, or here's 2 down here. So we will hopefully be getting some fruit this year off of this tree. So I'm excited for that. This was a Bartlett pear that did not make it. This one was doing really well, and it had full foliage and everything, and then it just all of a sudden it just dried up and died. I don't know what happened to it, but this is all growth from the root stock that's coming out. And so what I plan on doing is getting those little root ball starters that you wrap around the branch of a tree, and you cut open you peel back the bark, and you put soil in there, and it literally starts a whole new root system. So I'm planning on doing that with these 2 growths here. Same thing with this one. This one has a nice new tree starting off of the root. This is a whole separate tree here, but this one came back okay this year. This is the Hale Haven peach, which I wanted this one specifically because everybody was talking about how fast it produces peaches. So as you can see here, there's a bunch of peach clusters here. There's some up here. Those are all going to be peaches. And there's a couple here. So we might get, say, 20 fruits off of that tree. And then this is the Reliance peach, which this one ended up actually being the stronger of the 2 peach trees, which I also have another growth here that I want to do the root thing with. But this one is just loaded with peaches. I mean, there was a peach, or there was a couple peaches on this tree last year that just were really small, and I didn't pick them off or anything. But this year I'm hoping that these peaches really turn into edible size. So there might be like 40 peaches on this tree, which we're super excited about that. And then down here, we had our 2 apple trees planted. This one totally didn't make it. This was a Honeycrisp, so that one was totally done. And then this one, pretty much the same thing, but it has root growth from the root ball. So I'm planning on trying to start these 2 pieces here with a method that I was talking about. And then this is our cherry blossom tree. This was doing real good for a couple years, but this year, as you can see, at the end of last year, it started to have a little disease pressure or something. And this year it kind of just halfway filled out. So not sure what I'm going to do about this tree, but I'll probably trim a bunch of the dead stuff off, give it some good fertilizer, and try to get it going again. But we plan on putting more trees. We have, what, like 5 more trees that we have that we bought. You guys probably saw that in the other video from earlier this year, but we want to have another row of trees going down here through the orchard. And then eventually, in years to come, I was hoping on maybe kind of, landscaping around the house a little bit, removing some of these bushes out here when we got the house, and kind of doing like a food forest slash fruit orchard and berry bushes and stuff out here. So that's the secret garden and the orchard. We got the Mookie Coco watching for us. No doggies in the garden. All right, guys, so this is the main garden area, and I'm like almost embarrassed to even show this because it's just so overgrown right now, and I got so much weed pressure.
Hey, wait, you can't come in here.
What are you doing? There's just so much weed pressure in the garden area. It's just crazy. Like every year I'm dealing with a different type of massive weed pressure. So last year it was crabgrass that was growing crazy in all the rows, which I'm sure that'll come back and be a problem again this year. But this year I'm having, I don't know what weed this is, but when you look, there's seeds all over it, and when you touch it, the seeds just pop. Like it literally just throws seeds everywhere. Like, so this is going to be a massive problem. Whatever these are, this is just going to go crazy. Like all these seeds are just going to get scattered because you can't even touch it without getting the seeds off of it. So that's what I'm dealing with this year. So that's going to be fun. So I might end up just, pulling out what I can or mowing it down and then just kind of planting it in and around it, like almost like it's a cover crop or something. Because yeah, we're just going to do the best we can this year. And then these are our 2 new beds that we were talking about. So this is like basically a 75, 80-foot bed. And this one is like close to 100. So both of them are going to be 2-foot beds. The bed at the fence, we can use the fence as a trellis for like peas and stuff. So we're excited about that. And then this bed is going to be all tomatoes, right?
I think so. We've changed it a few times.
Yeah.
We won't know for sure until it's in the ground.
But as you can see, I still have to pull up all last year's peppers and tomatoes.
Yes. You're gonna do it in the spring. Just do it in the fall.
Yeah, I mean, I should have probably been out here working, trying to get some of this stuff done and like covering up the walkways with cardboard on my break, in February, which would have been a good idea to do. And then the plan was to cover it with cardboard in the winter and then get mulch and put down a nice layer of mulch. We just didn't have time this year. So yeah, life and things were happening. So, but there is a kind of a couple cool things growing in all this mess. So this is some yarrow here. Volunteer yarrow that came up just this year. And then last year I let this yarrow, I mean, look at this stuff. It just shoots. They just shoot off. This yarrow gets massive. I mean, like real big. This is just a really nice yarrow, and it flowers real nice, and the pollinators love it. So I leave this here. I think I'm gonna try to dig it up and plant it maybe along the fence or somewhere, kind of out of the way a little bit. But for right now, it's gonna stay where it's at. So today my plan is to get all this mowed down and then till this whole platform area. So this area that we're standing on, as you can see, it kind of drops off here and up here. So when I dug out the pool area, I brought all the our green algae pond that we're about to put some fish in and stuff like that, get some frogs and some fish put in there.
We should note, like, when we bought our property, there were trees here. Like, we completely changed this.
Yeah, I mean, this was all, there was 2 big conifer trees, one stump's there and the other one's down there. There was 2 really big trees, and then there was a really big bush that was kind of around this area right here. So this was all just kind of unkempt and on a different level. Like there's soil that's been brought in here to level this off. So there's kind of a platform here that I made. Yep. And then the rest of it, the rest of the yard, if you can look over there at that yard, you can see how it just kind of drops off. So the whole yard was the same way at the bottom. With ours, it dropped off another 4 feet down. So literally the bottom of the yard, I built up 4 feet all across the bottom and kind of made it a level platform. And that's kind of where we built the chicken coop and stuff like that.
Let me take a walk down to the onions.
Yep, we could take a walk and see how the onions are doing.
There's the stump. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yep, so there's one of the stumps, which they kind of be in the way when I make beds and stuff, but so far they're not really that much of a nuisance. I mean, I run into the roots every once in a while, but usually everything I can get deep enough into the ground, even next to the stump, that it's not going to really matter. So here's the other stump. And then down here we have our raised beds with our onions in them. So as you can see, our onions are starting to grow pretty good now. They were looking pretty rough for the first week or so, and I was a little worried about them, but they're definitely coming back good now. They all look nice and green, got all fresh new growth. Oh wow, there's a potato. What's up, duck duck? Here's a volunteer potato from last year. This was our last year's potato bed, and I didn't harvest all the potatoes, so there was a bunch in here when I was doing the onions that I pulled out, and obviously I left some in there because there's a potato growing. So we'll probably just let that do its thing, and hopefully that onion will survive, but we'll let that do its thing. And then we have our duck pen. So mama duck, and I believe she's sitting on some eggs right now. So
Yeah, Mr. Duck.
got Mr. Duck, and he loves his dandelion flowers and his grass. I put in a bunch of grass yesterday in there. Want some dandelion flowers? Oh yeah, that's yum yum. Hey, yum yum. You want that? You want the grass? What do you want? He's like, I've had enough grass. You gave me so much grass yesterday. So in recent years, we've used the duck pen to grow cucumbers up, which worked really well.
Gives them shade.
Gives them a little bit of shade and a nice place to trellis. The ducks like to get in there and pick at them. And then over here we have our compost area, which with that pile I was trying to do a 20-day turnaround on compost, and I just got so tired of flipping the pile every day that I just let it go. So it got like halfway done, but over here against the chicken coop, my plan was to have a grape on either side of the chicken coop and then train them to go across here and up there. So literally have like a grapevine here, grapevine here, grapevine there. I did have 2 grapes in these pots on either side, and they didn't survive the winter inside the pots, even though those are big pots. So last year I kind of half planted this one, and this one actually produced some grapes last year, which was nice. And I was a little worried that it wasn't going to make it, but it did. So I got some new growth coming in on these ones. So hopefully that'll do good this year. Last year we also did loofah gourds on the chicken coop, which we'll probably try to do again this year. we thought that we were supposed to let the loofah gourds totally dry out first before you peeled the skin off, which that wasn't the case. So the ones that we did harvest last year are pretty much just junk or seeds now. But this year we're gonna try to get them going the correct way and actually have some loofah sponges. And then here we have some overgrowth weeds. But in this area here, we have our hops. So I believe these are Cascade hops. And the chickens love the hops. So that's one reason I put them here, so that the chickens could have some of them. And then also I want the hops to grow wild up on this chicken coop and create shade for them. We'll let that go. But these really kind of exploded this year already. So as you can see, this is going up and away, and that's going to go up and kind of cover the whole thing. I just want some shade for the chickens, because in the summertime, when the summers are really hot, there's not really a lot of shade in the chicken coop, and the sun kind of just is directly over top and just kind of beats down on them, and they get really hot and overheated. So I have a couple shade cloths up, but I want the natural cover of the plants to shade them and keep them cool. So hopefully that'll work out for this year. All right, guys, so thanks for hanging out with us, doing our pre-season, pre-garden tour before things are planted or even prepped yet. So as you can see, I got a lot of work to do, and I got my hands full, and I'm going to do the best I can this year and just try to get it as good as possible. But I have a full-time job, and it really takes a lot of my energy away. And Sam's injured, and she has a full-time job, so she's not really able to kind of help me this year. So I'm going to do the best I can. And Sam just said, like, that's why when you have a really good year, like last year or the year before, that you work so hard to preserve that harvest, and so that you have stuff on your shelves for years like this, where I might not be able to do as good or get as much out of the garden as years prior. But like I said, I'm going to do the best I can. And I mean, sometimes you just kind of gotta let the weeds be weeds, and just kind of go with the flow and use them almost as like a cover crop. Like, nature wants the soil covered, so no matter what, if you don't cover it with something, Mother Nature is going to cover it with something, and that's what weeds do. Weeds are basically nature's cover crop. So I'm going to go with the flow this year, do the best we can, get the most out of the garden as we can, and hopefully it turns out to be a good year. But we got a lot of good things going for us. We got lots of onions here. We forgot to talk about this garlic bed that you guys see me do, and I'm really not happy with how this is turning out. As you can see, there's only a few garlics that are coming up. So I mean, I'm not sure what happened there. I mean, I knew it was going to be an experiment, and like being so late in the season, but maybe it just didn't have enough cold time. So yeah, it was just a really warm winter, and with how late we planted them, there just wasn't enough cold days to, I guess, stratify them or whatever. But we're gonna do this year, we're gonna do our fall planting of garlic, so that we can get our proper garlic harvest next year. But yeah, that's it for now. I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Be sure to like and subscribe.
We'll see you next time, guys.
See you next time. All right, guys, so I just wanted to show you quick what I got done. I got to take the tiller back tomorrow. So if you remember from earlier in this video what this looked like this morning, covered in grass and weeds and really tall. I mowed it all down real low, and then I went over it with the tiller, made probably, I don't know, 6 or more passes around the whole thing a couple times, and then I added my mushroom soil to the top, and then I tilled that in, and then I also added my mushroom soil to the top here on this bed, tilled it in, and the fence bed, tilled it in. So I'm also going to top dress that again before planting with more mushroom soil or compost. And this soil up here, when I first started with this soil in the garden, this was pretty much all clay. This was all the top, the clay from around the pool that I dug out. And as you can see, after a couple years of top dressing and tilling in the weeds and all the nutrients and stuff, it's starting to look really good. So, and there was a lot of rocks in here. So I remember when I first used it as a garden bed, I took a bunch of rocks out. And today I took my time as I was tilling, and I got a whole bunch of rocks out. So this is looking really good now. Along the fence here, as you can see, these big rock piles. This was super rocky for some reason right along the fence here, and especially this like 15-foot section right here, just loaded with rocks. So I'm going to work on getting some of those out. But for overall, I think we did pretty good today, and I'm pretty excited about these new garden beds, and especially the platform bed there. So that looks really good. I don't know if I'm just going to leave it all as a garden bed or if I'm going to make more rows. I'll talk to Sam about that and decide that. But yep, still got a lot of work to do in the regular beds and stuff. And looks like we'll be able to get that started here shortly. So I'm gonna start pulling out these old plants and start pulling the weeds or what I can, and then mow in between the rows, and possibly put some cardboard down or something to keep the weed pressure down a little bit, but we'll see. But thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.